I thank all of you for being here. I know that we also have, due to us voting on some constitutional amendments this evening, our Constitution says that active members are the only ones that can vote. And so we have our retired members and our CNAFME members, which have all the rights and privileges except for the right to vote in any of our elections or anything having to do with our AMEA Constitution or any amendments. They are watching us on YouTube through our AMEA YouTube channel. There was also some question about if this meeting was going to be recorded. The Zoom is not going to be recorded, but we are going to have the YouTube link available for everyone to go back and watch if they would like to see at a later time. So just wanted to get that little bit of business out of the way. Also remind people of, since we're not in person like we would have liked to have been in January, just a few things. If you would like to speak in this meeting, please raise your hand and we will go forth with allowing you to speak by calling on you from raising your hand. And I think that is pretty much everything. The business, the housekeeping things at the beginning. Also, you can use the chat feature if you want to ask a question and don't want to raise your hand and ask it out in person. So we have the chat, and then also if you want to ask something or later in the meeting you want to speak, please raise your hand. So I am Rob Lyda. I am the current AMEA president. Thank you all for being here. Like I said, we all know how January ended up with our conference, and we're going to hear some updates from Rusty Logan, our executive director, about some of the ramifications from canceling the conference as far as financial and some other issues. I just want to thank you all for your patience and for your support over the last month. It has definitely been an interesting time. The conference did not end up the way that any of us wanted to end it up. But I feel like the board made the absolute best decision to keep everyone safe and to make sure that we did not have people traveling in dangerous conditions. And so while it was a very difficult decision, it was the absolute correct decision for us to make, canceling the conference. So thank you for your patience and for your grace that you have given to all of us as we have moved forward. I also want to start off by just saying thank you to a few people. Number one, our staff has been incredible through all of this. There was a huge amount of work that went in planning the conference and getting things ready for the conference. And if we had not made the decision to cancel the conference, we were ready to go. And that's because we have a fantastic staff that had done a lot of work beforehand to ensure that we were ready to have a high quality conference. So thank you to Rusty, to Gary, to Pat, and to David for all of their incredible work getting ready for the conference. Also, I want to tell you, you need to all thank your division presidents because they put a lot of planning to put forth a wonderful conference for all of you that did not come to fruition, and they saw all of their hard work and planning dissipate with one swift vote of the AMEA governing board. So the division presidents have also worked to make sure that events that were canceled that were important were continued. And so we've had All-State Jazz Band in the last few weeks. I know we're going to have ABA Gospel Immersion Honor Choir and also the All-State Elementary choir that's going to happen in March. And that takes a huge amount of work to reschedule. We've been asked several times if we could reschedule the conference. And we thought about it, but looking at everyone's testing schedules and spring breaks and spring travel plans, and then looking at when all of our all-state festivals happen throughout the state, it just was not possible for us to reschedule a large-scale event like the conference for later in the spring. There was not one free weekend that we could all come together as an association, and that's one reason why we have chosen the January time that we did historically and moving forward, because it is a time that we all have on our calendars that we know the conference is going to happen during that time. So thank you for those questions and for your eagerness and willingness to want to have AMEA at a later date. It just was not possible. So Just a couple of things I wanted to let you know and some thank yous before we get started with the business. And looking at our agenda that we have, the first thing we have on tap is our minutes from the last meeting, and Heather Holmes, our AMEA recording secretary, will give us the minutes from January 20th, 2023.
Okay, AMEA business meeting was held January 20th, 2023 at the BJCC Theater in Birmingham, Alabama. President Lyda called the meeting to order at 10:32 a.m. and welcomed the organization to the 2023 AMEA In-Service Conference. Division flags were presented while members of the Deal Pickers played the Alabama State Song. A motion was made to dispense with the reading of the minutes by McClendon and Henson, and it passed. A motion made to dispense with the reading of the financial report, McClendon and Multiple, it also passed. President Lyda spoke about our new initiatives, Tell Your Story. We are inviting people to record their own music education story. James Spann is our first story, and his video will be shared soon via social media. President Lyda announced our first ever AMEA Hill Day for March 21st, 2023 at the Alabama State Capitol. A motion to close the meeting made by multiple people and seconded by multiple people passed. Meeting adjourned at 10:46 a.m.
Thank you, Heather. The minutes from our January 20th, 2023 annual business meeting have been presented to you. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? Do we have a motion to accept the minutes as presented? There's a motion by John Phillips. Do I have a second by Phil Wilson to to accept the minutes as they were presented? All those in favor, if you will type I in your chat box. And any opposed, you can type nay. All right, it looks like the motion carries. So thank you very much, Heather, for your hard work in keeping up with our minutes. All right, the next thing that we have on our agenda is the Financial and Executive Director's Report. I'm going to share my screen so you can see an accounting of what Rusty is going to speak about. But Rusty, you should see that now, and so whenever you're ready. Rusty, you're muted.
I am, sorry. Rob asked me to put together a financial impact of what it would look like moving forward from our finances since we canceled the concert. At this afternoon, in our QuickBooks accounting, that's a little bit more accurate than what our bank account actually says, because there's been some checks that haven't cleared and all that kind of stuff. Right now, we have in our QuickBooks account $58,540. In our PayPal account, we have $5,128.22. So the total funds that we have on hand right now that we can be spending stuff out of, a little over $63,000, $63,668.26. I'm expected in the next couple of days to receive a deposit from NAFME for our January membership dues of $3,575. They've already sent me the thing saying, watch for this deposit. So that's how much it's going to be. So that would give us, as soon as I get that, $67,243.26. So that's what we have on hand right now that's we can access fairly easily because it's in the bank or in the PayPal account. So the worst case scenarios, and I always like to deal kind of in the worst case scenarios, looking forward for the remainder of this fiscal year, which ends June the 30th. We still have some exhibitors and some conference registrations that we haven't paid out yet refunds because they haven't told me if they want us to pay their refund or if they want us to keep their fees. So in the exhibitor category, and I've got a breakdown of how many these are later on, we have $7,675 that we could wind up having to pay the exhibitors and refunding their booth registration. In the conference registration, we have $9,760 as of this afternoon that has not been refunded yet. So for that, just refunding registration fees from this past conference, we still have, possibly could still have $17,435. We've got two areas that we could be responsible for, one for this last conference when we canceled and one for next year's conference. We're in negotiation with the city of Huntsville to see if the incentive programs that they offered us, we could use that incentive program to help pay for these two items here. But if not, then we would be responsible for this amount. So the Von Braun Center is for things that they did for us before we canceled the conference. So it'd be $5,920. That's setting up, chairs and stuff, getting the rooms ready and all that kind of stuff and everything. They did grant us our force majeure, the act of God clause, so that we didn't have to pay them nearly $100,000. So, $5,920 would be what we would be responsible for if the city doesn't agree to use part of the incentive money that they paid us. The Embassy Suites, they were super this year. They didn't charge us anything. What this amount is for, and it's an estimate, we don't know the exact amount yet, but we had reserved the Embassy Suites for next year's conference. And we've found out since then that we would not be able to have the space that we needed for the Von Braun Center in next year. So we canceled our reservations at the Embassy Suites for next year. And so we could be responsible for somewhere between $23,000 and $24,000. And again, we've asked the city of Huntsville to help us out with that if possible. The incentive program was really for the Von Braun Center. It wasn't for the Embassy Suites, but we've kind of pitched it to them that, well, we would have been there if we'd have had the space that we expected to have at the Von Braun Center. So if you can help us out, please do so. So those two things together would come out to be a little bit over, well, nearly $30,000, as you can see, $29,920. If we have to pay those, hopefully we won't, but if we do, we have to figure it in, worst case. Okay, Rob, there you go. We have some grant money that's included in the bank account. We have a $500 CMS grant, $5,000 CMS grant, and Alabama Education Association $3,600 grants that we were supposed to use for the conference in different ways of the conference. And that's the only thing that we can use those for. Rob has been in contact with those people, and we're trying to figure out if we can maybe play this forward to next year's conference. We're not sure, but right now we've got a little over $8,600 in the bank earmarked for those grants. So we'd have to subtract that from the total amount also if we can't use it. And then just the normal monthly bills for the next 5 months, the salaries for the staff, we have to do a quarterly tax form. We got the first quarter and the second quarter that we'll have to do for that. The normal, and I just estimated what it cost us last year to go to the June board meeting and to the National Assembly with the upper leaders of the association. We got a couple of monthly bills that we pay that total $144 for the 5 months. The next item is the platform that we use for our exhibitors to go through and reserve their booths and pay for sponsorships and that kind of thing. They build our so they build a little diagram so that the exhibitors can tell where the booths are and everything. So that's what the $29.99 is for. And we usually have to pay that before the end of June for the next year. Exhibitor decorator is the person that actually comes in and bills the exhibit hall for us. And that's a deposit. That's a 50% deposit on what we paid them the last time we used them. So all that together total $37,469.49. We're having a new website built, and it's going to cost us approximately $9,000. It may be just a little bit less than that, but once we paid it, to add something to it or something like that, it'd be right around $9,000. So all of this, I think that's the last thing. Rob, can you scroll on down? So all of this, if you subtract all that from what we have in the bank, at the end of June, we'd be a negative $35,181.23. A worst case scenario, we'd be $35,000 in the hole. We do have an investment account with Edward Jones that we have as of this afternoon. We have $148,594.05 in. We would have to draw from that to cover whatever we're below. And again, all this is until June the 30th. That's not going further into the year. This is just for this fiscal year. So, I mean, if the worst case scenario happens, we would have to withdraw probably close to $40,000 from that investment account just to cover us until we start taking money in for next year's conference. You may have saw in Rob's letter that 70% of our budget comes from the conference, and it really does. So that's just sort of what the financial looks like between now and the end of June, and just some numbers here to show what we've done since the conference. Pat was anybody that paid with a check, like schools and individuals and that kind of thing. Pat refunded those, and that's how much he refunded through checks. I've already refunded a little over $35,000 through PayPal, and then that's just for the both of those are just for the conference registration for membership. And then for exhibitors, I've already refunded $8,500 either by check or by PayPal to the exhibitors that wanted refunds. And there's the breakdown of what the exhibitors have done. We gave the exhibitors three choices. They could apply their booth registration until next year. And like it says, 36% or 24 exhibitors decided to do that. 9 exhibitors said, keep my money. The organization needs it. So that's great for those 9. 21 have asked for a full refund, and 14 exhibitors have not responded yet. So we hope to get them to respond so we can put all this behind us and know what we've got going. But it was pretty good response from the exhibitors, and it's sort of almost the same response from the conference registration. So membership registration, 102 people have decided that they would just donate their registration to the organization, and we certainly appreciate that. So that's 16% of all the ones that paid through, and all this is just paid through PayPal. These numbers here, the other numbers, I don't have the numbers of people that have actually refunded individual people, but this is just all through PayPal that I've been doing. There have been 401 people that said that they would want a refund, and for 64% of the membership. And then we've had 122 members not respond at all. So we don't know if they want a refund or if they want to donate. So again, I'll send out another email to the exhibitors and to the conference membership, and just remind them that we would like to go ahead and get this taken care of. Please let us know what you want us to do with your money. We're happy to refund it. We're happy to keep it. Just let us know. So that's sort of what it would look like by the end of June. And if you think about it, if you look at the exhibitors, again, 24 exhibitors have said that they would like to apply it to next year's conference. Well, what that means is that we're not going to get that money next year. So we're going to be, since we're putting it forward in the next year, that won't be an income for next year. So we're going to be tight probably for a little while, but we'll live through it and we'll make it work. Is that okay, Rob?
Yes, thank you, Rusty. Does anyone have any questions about the financial report? If you do, raise your hand and we'll call on you. All right, seeing that there are no questions, is there a movement or is there a motion to accept the financial report?
I'll move that we accept the financial report as reported.
And there's a second I see by John Phillips. So we have a motion, a second to accept the financial report. All those in favor, type aye in the chat. All those opposed, type nay. All right, motion passes. I can't say enough how hard Rusty has worked over the last month to work with our exhibitors, also work with our vendors. He has done a lot of work behind the scenes that many of us will never see, trying to iron out the details of the ramifications of the conference. I know there are some we do have an investment account, and I've seen some things on Facebook that, thank God we have that investment account. We do, but the investment account can't handle multiple emergencies or multiple, crises. So hopefully we can get over this one and we can build that reserve back up and then move forward in the future. But I am very thankful to the boards of the past and to our former executive director, Gary Taylor, for their vision to set that account up so it could give AMEA on the footing that we are today. The next thing that we have coming up is the nomination of officers for the next voting term, which we will begin voting on April the 1st. And so we had a nominating committee that was chaired by Sarah McClendon, who is a former division president of the Elementary General Division. And we are going to hear the report of the nominating committee now.
So first off, let me thank my committee members. From ABA, I had Jill DeCatano. From Orchestra, Rachel Christmas. From Vocal, Zach Banks. From Higher Ed, Michael Zelenak. From Elementary General, Betty Wilson. And from CNAFME, Jenna Brown. So they talked to lots of people over several months. We came up with a whole slate of people for president-elect and then recording secretary. And then we got it down to the 2 people for each selection for you guys to vote on. For president-elect from Higher Ed Division, we have Dr. Becky Halliday. And from band, we have Dr. Travis Bender. For recording secretary, from the band division, Heather Holmes. And from Higher Ed, Dr. Morgan Soya.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for that report from the nominating committee. And now, as our Constitution does outline, we have the ability to take nominations from the floor. If you would like to make a nomination from the floor, if you will raise your hand and we will call upon you. If there are no nominations from the floor, would someone like to make a motion to accept the nominating committe's report? Or go ahead, Phil.
I move to accept the nominating committee's selections for president-elect.
And I see a second from Megan and then also Joe. So there's a motion and second to accept the nominating committee's recommendations for our slate of officers. All those in favor, type aye into the chat or nay if you disagree. Motion carries. Thank you so much to our nominating committee. I know that is a difficult task. especially when you are spread out all over the state. And we tried to make sure that we had representation from all parts of the state. We did have representation from all of our divisions. So thank you for that, that group of dedicated people. I do this every so frequently in meetings. I skipped over one of the agenda items. And so my apologies and thank you to the governing board that texted and said you skipped. David Rainey is going to give us a update on our website.
Thank you, President Lyda, and good evening, everyone. As Rusty mentioned earlier, the board recently approved funding for the development of a new website. A contract was signed with App Savvy LLC with an estimated timeline for the website to begin converting over into a new website and end by the end of May. Our goal is to build a more stable and functional website that will serve the Alabama music educators. Of course, over the coming months, you may notice some changes in the current website with possible temporary downtimes, but for the most part, we look forward to a smooth transition to our new website. And that's my report.
Thank you so much, David. I wanted you all to hear that we were in the process of updating the website. And just to let you know, we began that process before we ever had to cancel the conference. That was a motion that was made back in our August board meeting to do that and to spend the money. And so the wheels were already in motion before the conference. So just so you know that, but thank you to David for gathering those bids. And then also, I can't wait to see what the new website is going to have in store for us. So the next thing that we have is we have two proposed changes to the AMEA Constitution to vote on this evening. In accordance with the AMEA Constitution, the amendments were unanimously approved by the AMEA Governing Board and were provided to the membership in writing 48 days before the general business meeting that we were supposed to have in January. And the Constitution says 30 days. So they have now been floating around since we didn't have the general business meeting for about 88 days. So in accordance with AMEA's Constitution, the Constitution may be amended by a 2/3 vote of all members present and voting at any regular or special meeting of the association. So the first amendment, and I'm going to share my screen so you can see, which you received all of these in the oops, let me stop. That was not what I wanted to share. So sorry about that. So the first amendment is Amendment 2024.1. The officers, and I will read this to you. I know you can read, but I have to read it out loud. So the officers of the AMEA shall be the president, the past president, the president-elect, and the recording secretary. The president-elect and the recording secretary shall be elected in every even number year. Section 3, Governing Board. Governing Board. The Governing Board shall be composed of the president, past president, president-elect, recording secretary, the collegiate, CNAFME, faculty advisor, and the president or chairperson of each of the divisions. Ex officio non-voting members of the Governing Board shall be the arts education specialist of the Alabama State Department of Education, the editor of the Olive Brev magazine, the executive director of the AMEA assistant executive director, the treasurer registrar appointed by the president, the industry member representative, and the state collegiate CNAFME president. Additional ex officio non-voting members of the governing board may be appointed and serve at the discretion of the governing board. Advisory members shall be the presidents elect and or vice presidents of each of the divisions and shall serve in a non-voting capacity. The rationale for this constitutional amendment. The treasurer registrar position was changed from an elected position to an appointed position after the 2012 election. Currently, the treasurer registrar is appointed by the president of the AMEA and serves as a paid employee for the association. Moving the treasurer registrar position from a voting member of the board to an ex officio non-voting member of the governing board will help avoid possible conflicts of interest. NAFME uses CNAFME as the designation for collegiate members. Therefore, this change would make AMEA's constitution consistent with NAFME's language. In addition, this change will make the AMEA Constitution language consistent with the bylaw change, Article 2, Section 1, approved by a vote of the membership in 2022. I am going to stop sharing that. And are there any questions about that first amendment? All right, seeing that there are no questions, since the board put this forth to the membership, you will receive a poll. I need you to vote on this. I would say that I think there are one or two people in here that are retired members. And so if you are a retired member, you cannot vote on this poll. So just remember that. But I'm going to launch the poll for 2024. If you will vote, I'll give you a minute or so to vote, and then we'll go from there. Is there anyone that is having a difficulty voting? All right, with 74% of the vote, the motion passes. Now going to the second change. Oops. Sorry, I got too many screens open. All right, AMEA Constitutional Amendment 2024.2, Article 11 Amendments. This Constitution may be altered or amended by a 2/3 vote of all members present and voting at any regular or special meeting of the association, or by a 2/3 referendum vote of the entire ballots cast online. All members shall be notified in writing of the amendment under consideration at least 30 days before a vote is taken. Prior to being submitted to the membership for a final vote, any amendment shall have been approved by a 2/3 vote of the governing board. Rationale. The AMEA bylaws language were amended several years ago to allow online voting online. The association no longer mails paper ballots. This change would allow the Constitution and bylaws language to more closely match without changing the threshold for making alterations or amendments to the Constitution and bylaws. Are there any questions about that amendment? 2024.2. All right, since there are no questions, you'll receive a poll for 2024.2. If you'll please vote in the same way you did before. So with 79% approval, the amendment passes. Thank you all for helping us take care of that business. And now we will move to division updates. I will let the division presidents, they're not going to give a formal report, but just tell you some updates for you to be aware of with your divisions. First up is going to be ABA with represented by Lori Hart.
Good evening. I'm actually driving, and so it's not safe for me to drive and read at the same time. So basically what I'm going to tell everybody is to, the updates are in the Alabrev. So make sure that you read the articles in the Alabrev. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be happy to help you in any way I can.
Thank you, Lori. All right, now the Alabama Orchestra Association, Joseph Lee.
Hello, everyone. This is Joseph Lee, president of AOA. So excited to tell you all that we had a wonderful 2024 All-State Orchestra Festival, February the 8th through the 11th. That was on the campus of the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa. We had just shy of 200 students participating in 3 orchestras. Robin Fountain, the emeritus professor of conducting an orchestra at the Blair School at Vanderbilt, came to lead the top group. Dr. Cesar Leal came from Gettysburg College, the Sunderman Conservatory, to lead the Sinfonia, and the Consort String Orchestra was led by Jennifer Drake. She came to us from Boise, Idaho, where she leads the Boise Philharmonic Youth Orchestras. It was a really, really special weekend, and it was great to have everyone together under one roof. While we were there, the AOA general meeting happened on Saturday, February the 10th. And we elected a new slate of officers, at least a new president-elect, who is Keith Labin from Gadsden High School. He's the orchestra director in Gadsden. And Jordan Ford will become president. I'll move to past president. And then Tricia Marotz and Rachel Christmas will remain treasurer and secretary, respectively. I also want to mention we are looking toward the Orchestra Music Performance Assessment on April the 5th. That will take place in Alabaster at Thompson High School, and we're looking forward to that event. So I'd also, like Lori, like to point you toward the Alabrev. We have some great photos from our All-State Orchestra Festival, as well as some other updates that I didn't mention here. So thank you all.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
And next we'll hear from Heinlein Wilson with the Alabama Vocal Association.
Hi guys, we have All-State next week, so you're going to hear a lot of more information at our meeting at All-State. So we're all looking forward to that, and our Gospel Immersion Honor Choir was rescheduled for the end of March, so we're looking forward to that event too. We have several solo and ensemble events coming up and state choral performance assessment. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next week at All-State.
Thanks, Heinlein. All right, next up, we'll have Alicia Luttrell with the Elementary General Division.
Hello, everyone. I will just report that back in October, we did have our annual festival at Metropolitan Church of God with 32 schools participating and about 228 students. We're looking forward to next year, again, October 2024, with our new festival director, Taylor Newpool, and it will again be at Metropolitan Church of God in Birmingham. We have rescheduled our All-State Elementary Choir that we are so excited about. That will be March 22nd in Huntsville. We will still have Greg Gilpin as our guest clinician conductor. We have about 25 schools registered, about 124 students. We're looking forward to that. Looking forward into the future, both of those events will be held every other year. So our next All-State and our next festival will be held in 2026.
Thank you very much, Alicia. And next we will hear from the Higher Education Division from Carly Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. So we were able to conclude our voting for new officers. So for 2024 through 2026, Stephen Foster, Dr. Stephen Foster from Faulkner University is going to be serving as our new president. Dr. Ted Hoffman from the University of Montevallo is going to be serving as our new president-elect. And Dr. Brandon Slocum from Huntington College is going to be continuing serving as our secretary/treasurer.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson. And now we will hear from our new collegiate CNAFME president, Matthew Suit.
Hello, everyone. So CNAFME was able to host a virtual summit, winter summit on February 17th with Dr. Mary Land and William Panter. Those two were going to do a clinic with us at AMEA. And then the executive board also voted to suspend the bylaws that specified we have to do our elections at AMEA conference for the 2024 and 2025 year due to the circumstances of the cancellation of the conference. So we're moving forward with doing a circulation of an email self-nomination with the CNAFME membership that will conclude March 4th.
Thank you very much, Matthew. All right, just a couple of announcements before we sign off this evening. I'm going to share my screen one more time and see if I can do this correctly. All right, so the first thing, and there's not a slide for this, we will be having some spring town halls throughout the spring. Since we didn't since we did not get to meet and have professional development at AMEA, one of our charges as an association is to provide professional development for our members. And so look in the next week, I've been talking with several clinicians that are from around the country to meet with us and speak to us about different topics in music ed. And so I should be able to get a list of those out to you within the next week. So look for that through your email and through AMEA social media. I also mentioned, this wasn't on my thing to mention, but and if you have friends, you might want to talk to them about checking their communication preferences with AMEA and NAFME, because we have become aware that some people might not have gotten the email that conference was canceled. Luckily, no one drove to Huntsville, but it's really easy on your phone to unsubscribe from our messages without even realizing that you've unsubscribed. So just make sure that people are receiving the messages. So next time you get a newsletter, maybe contact 4 or 5 friends and ask them if they received the newsletter. Also, I wanted to make everyone aware that usually by this time you have received your a la breve. You should receive your a la breve digitally tomorrow, because we had to wait until we heard the report of the nominating committee to make sure we had candidate bios in the a la breve, because voting for the AMEA elections will take place April 1st through May the 1st of this year. And we had to make sure that we had all of those candidate bios and that we heard the report of the nominating committee. So look for your a la breve coming out tomorrow. Because of the financial situation AMEA is in, we have decided that we are not going to host a unified Hill Day this year like we did last year. It was a great day. We had music on the front steps of the Capitol in the old Senate chamber. And it was just a wonderful day for our very first Hill Day. But I decided that it probably would not be of our best resources, since we were looking at the potentially having, almost $40,000 in the hole going into the next fiscal year to spend the money to have the Hill Day in Montgomery. So what we've decided to do is we're going to have a Hill Week, and it's mostly going to take place in your hometowns on social media. So on Monday, we want you to tell your story, get other people to tell their music education story, and encourage them to share it on their social media channels. Tuesday, there's a lot of data out there for music ed. It gets shared every year. So share your favorite piece of music education data that kind of supports why music's important to you and your students. And if it's data related to your program, like let's say you have one of those schools that has 70% of your students that it's involved in the music programs through the choirs and the bands and whatever else you offer, share that data and let the people know how important music ed is to your community. Wednesday is going to be our actual Hill Day, where we're going to have you participate at home, but some of us from AMEA leadership will be in Montgomery to advocate for music education. So we encourage you, if you want to come to Montgomery, you can too, and meet with your elected official, but you can also email them. You can call them or tag them on social media and ask them to support music education. Also, AMEA leaders will be at the state superintendent's art show and luncheon that day at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. And we will be receiving the resolution from the state school board designating March as Arts Education and Music in Our Schools Month. Then on Thursday, that's Make Music Thursday. We want you to post a video of you or your ensemble making music. And then also, this just happened today. I was invited to come and meet with Governor Ivey on Thursday with some other arts leaders in the state to come and talk to her about why music education and arts education is important in the state of Alabama. Then on Friday, this is What's Your Vision? So if you could large scale dream about what music education should be in Alabama, this is your chance to tell people what music education could be. So we want you to share your vision for music education. For me, it's to have a music teacher in every school and every child to have a sequential music education. So that's my vision. So share your vision for what you wish music education could be in Alabama schools. Then make sure in all of these posts that you tag AMEA and that you also use our hashtag that we've been using for the past couple of years. The hashtag is very important because when we go and meet with our elected officials, we point them to this hashtag so they can see all of the great things that are happening in the schools of Alabama for music education. So as you make videos, you post pictures, whatever, say good things about your programs, tag AL4 Music Ed on all of your social media posts. Also, you might be aware the Alabama Course of Study is started the revision process for the 2017 Alabama Course of Study. Now, there are some AMEA members that are going to be on this committee, and this is a QR code that will lead you to a Google form that Andy Meadows has asked for arts educators to fill out about the current standards to let the committee know what you like, what you don't like, what you think needs to be revised, and the committee will look at those and take those into consideration as they begin looking at revising the course of study. So there'll be more information about that. If you have any questions about that, I'm sure Andy Meadows would love to talk to you about that as I see him on my screen, or you can, of course, email me and I'll be happy to get that information to Andy or to the committee. Also, we wanted to make you aware tonight of AMEA 2025. AMEA is going to be held after the MLK holiday for the next couple of years. So AMEA 2025, the location is yet to be announced, but if you can read between the lines, you might figure it out. January 23rd through the 25th, 2025. Session proposals and performance applications will open March 1st and close June 1st of 2024. That will all be handled on myamea.org, and we will send information out to you about how you can submit session proposals and performance applications for the AMEA. And then we wanted to let you know about AMEA 2026 and 2027. Both of those will happen January 1st, January 22nd to the 24th, 2026, and then in 2027, it'll be January 21st to the 23rd, 2027. So we wanted you to have those dates so you can go ahead and start planning now and get those on your calendar for coming up. And that's all of the announcements that I have. The only other one is that there will be NAFME Hill Day and National Assembly in June, and our incoming president elect, Dr. Phil Wilson, will be representing us well in Washington, D.C. this summer. So I wanted to just say thank you very much for your attendance tonight. I want to thank you for your dedication in our schools in Alabama. Please know that I have read every education bill in our legislature right now, and there are some things that I'm going to be making AMEA members aware of in the coming weeks. And there are still some bills yet to be proposed in the legislature. So know that that is something that I am passionate about, and I will make sure that you have the information you need so you can advocate for yourself and for your programs and, of course, for your students. Thank you for your dedication to music education in Alabama. Thank you for your, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, your grace and your understanding and your trust in your elected leaders in this association. This has not been an easy time for any of us, but it has been a wonderful, affirming time to see the ways that you've made music education happen. Especially the thing that has really warmed my heart is to see all of the AMEA performances happen throughout the state of Alabama, not just in Huntsville, but throughout the state of Alabama. You took AMEA to the state. So thank you so much. With that said, if someone would like to make a motion to adjourn our meeting, I would love to hear that motion.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor, type aye. Any opposed can say nay. And if you are done, you may log off. Unless you're on the governing board, I need you to stay behind for just a minute. For the rest of you, you are free to go. Thank you. Have a great night.